Hello, everyone. Welcome to another interview here on Nerd of the Rings. We have a special guest with us today. You guys know him as Theo in the Rings of Power. Welcome, Tyroe. Thanks so much for taking the time and joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk to you. See what happens.
Awesome. Well, hey, the first question I always like to ask people when they come on is how were you first introduced to Tolkien?
Oh well, for me it's an interesting one actually because I'm younger than the trilogy itself. So
Right.
I didn't grow up on Tolkien like some of the other cast did. So um, I knew of it. My dad was a fan. He used to have it on around the house, and I kind of knew of it as the movie where the guy loses his finger and there's Gollum. That's all I really knew until I got the role, and then I watched the trilogy, the extended edition back to back actually. So it was like
Nice.
9.5 hours of like in my living room. It was very concentrated. I kind of don't recommend it because it was a lot, but yeah, I think I'm a fan now. I watch a lot of videos. Actually, I actually have a TikTok account where I've made my whole For You page just Lord of the Rings stuff. So I just scroll and get a bunch of like lore information.
Nice. Very cool. Well, hey, you are in good company, my friend, because I was actually first introduced, even though I'm much, much older than you, I was also first introduced via the movies, actually, not the books. So yeah, we've got that in common. So um I was curious, we talked a little bit about this when we met in at San Diego, actually, but how did you find out that you were cast in Rings of Power?
Oh, actually, I was on the train on the way to school with my friends. And the crazy thing is, at the time, my mum was actually in the hospital with my two sisters because something had happened in the morning and they'd been rushed off in the
Oh my
ambulance. So
gosh.
my mum was at like this really frantic state. And then all of a sudden, my agent calls her and is like, Tyra got the role. So she had to be like super excited, but at the same time, she was like super stressed and just
Right.
messages me being like, "You got the role," and then I was like, "Sick! How was my sister? Like, what's going on?" But at the same time, I was so happy and I was like smiling like uncontrollably on the train, and my friends were all like, what are you smiling at? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "Nothing, like nothing. Just a role in a film, nothing too major." But yeah.
So that was probably interesting to have to keep it a secret from your friends for quite a while.
Oh yeah, I mean, I kept telling them, I was like, "Oh guys, you're never gonna believe like what I'm about to do. Like, you're not gonna believe it. It's gonna be crazy." They're like, okay, Tyro," and then it gets like announced that I'm in it, and they're all like, "What?" And I was like, I told you." But yeah.
You told us when we were in San Diego, you told us how you had kind of thought you had figured out what you were up for because you knew where it was located and everything and knew that there
Mm.
was a Lord of the Rings show, so you're kind of hypothesizing a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I also in the audition thing, it said like Untitled Amazon project, and my agent's like possibly, probably Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, "Ooh, okay, all right." Um, so yeah, I mean, I couldn't even wrap my head around the fact that I got an audition for the show, let alone have a role in the show. It's incredible. I'm so blessed. Yeah.
So I'm curious who now that you said you had a foundation in the films and everything, who's your favorite of Tolkien's characters and why?
Um, Either Legolas or Gimli. I love their friendship.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's perfect. I love Legolas because like Orlando Bloom, he's gorgeous and like his skateboarding. You know what I'm saying? When he like
Yeah.
on the shield, I think he's just so cool and like yeah, he's just absolutely amazing.
So turning to Rings of Power specifically, aside from Theo, of course, because that's you, who is your favorite character in the show?
This might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but I actually love Kemen. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
his one specific line when Ayardian's like, um, I don't normally go for dinner with strange men. And he goes, if I see any, I'll let you know. I just
Yeah.
think the smoothest line, so charming. And it's like, when I'm gonna be like dating and stuff, that's how I'm gonna try and be because that's he's so perfect. Oh, yeah. I love him actually. Yeah.
So another character that kind of from the Numenor storyline that Theo is actually potentially coming in contact with now is Halbrand. What do you think Theo thinks of this Halbrand character who he just kind of shows up, and now I guess he's your guys' king out of nowhere? You have a king now. So what do you think about that?
Actually, I think Theo, he definitely wasn't expecting it, but I think almost maybe it's a sense of relief. I mean, there would definitely have been talk in the town about a king. I mean, in the first episode, I think it was,
Yeah.
Ian, who plays Rowan, was like, when our true king returns. And he has his little relationship with Theo. They would have talked about him. So I think Theo definitely knew there was something, but I think now that like he sees it, he's kind of a bit in awe. But I think it's he's now got someone else to look up to as well, rather than just Arondir, who, there's a little blockage there about why he would want to look up to him, but now he's got a human man that is all great and whatever. So
yeah. Well, speaking of Arondir, so we saw, Theo, he kind of dropped some lines earlier in the show. Seems like he's kind of frosty toward elves a bit. But here in this last couple episodes, it seems like there might be some respect kind of developing between Arondir and Theo. So what do you think, currently, as we've seen him in the show, what is Theo's current outlook on Arondir?
I think he's warming up to him slowly, very, very slowly. Because obviously the first things we see of him, he's very, very standoffish. He doesn't want anything to do with him. And I think the first moment where I think Theo realizes that he's not really a bad guy is the moment where he saves him in the pig pen. And he has this realization that it's like, oh, maybe the elves aren't against us and maybe they're just protecting us. And I think along the way, he's learning that Arondir is there for the love of the people rather than just being against them. And I think Theo's slowly learning that, and maybe he will completely.
Yeah. He came to trust him enough with the shard of, the sword shard, magic sword shard thing, and turn that around. It obviously seems like that's pretty precious to to Theo himself. So for him to turn it around and give it to Arondir says something for sure.
Yeah, I think with that it was the moment when he realized that I'm in way over my head, and someone strong and someone who knows how to protect and knows what to do should know. So I think,
but it's above his pay grade is basically So Waldrig, I wanted to talk about Waldrig just a little bit. So aside from Waldrig, in general acting pretty, kind of creepy toward Theo, why do you think Theo ultimately chose to stay and not go with Waldrig?
I mean, firstly, I'd like to say Waldrig, Jeff Morrell, the actor playing him, was incredible. I spent a lot of days on set with him. He's like an Australian icon. I remember when my mum first saw him, she was like, "That's Jeff Morrell!" Like, whoa! So it was an honor to work with him, and he was amazing. But I think it was. I think if his own mother wasn't the one standing up on that, barrack, he would have gone. But I think seeing almost the desperation of his mum's face, and maybe even Arondir's as well, I think he would have gone if it wasn't for that. But yeah, I think it's that point when he realized what's important to him, and what's more important to him is his family and those who love him and those who are close to him. I think it was a big learning curve for him.
Yeah. And with sorry. With Waldrig, we obviously saw some pretty intense stuff with him these last couple episodes for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think me and Jeff have joked a lot. I remember the day I got the script and I read where it was like, and Waldrig puts the sword in the fountain and creates Mount Doom. Me and Jeff would joke around. And I'd be like, "You're the man who made Mordor," and he was like, "It wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you." So we joke around. I call him the man who made Mordor, which I think is great, and I think you should write a song about it. To be honest,
should absolutely. So I'm curious if you or any of the cast keep up with fan theories at all. There's been a lot. I don't know if you've seen, but there's been a lot of theories about who Theo might become. There's a lot of people. I don't know what it is about you, man, but a lot of people are pegging you for a future Witch King.
I mean, there's a lot of things out there, and there's a lot of people he could be.
Yeah.
But I love looking at fan theories. I'll go on Reddit and I'll scroll for ages. I'll search up like Theo Rings of Power on Reddit. People will be like, he's this, he's this. Actually, I saw one theory that I was like, this is crazy. They thought that Theo is Halbrand, and that
Oh.
Theo is just it's the show's playing over different timelines, and that Theo is playing a young Halbrand, which I thought was like, when I first saw it, someone was like, Theo is Halbrand. I was like, huh? But
Yeah.
then when they got into it, and I was like, wow, like it's so crazy to think that so many people like spend so much time on something that I spent so much time on as well, but like completely separate. I think it's so crazy. It's so incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that one I did see that one, and I thought that would have been a very interesting twist if
Oh yeah.
the Numenorians showed up and it's an entirely different conflict, and then you find out, Theo was in the past and he's Halbrand. That would have been
Yeah.
pretty.
Would have been crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been nuts. So in regards to the shard, so if Adar had not done the old switcheroo and you open that up and that there's a hatchet there, if it had actually been this shard, do you think Theo, as he is right now, do you think he would have given it up and given it to the Numenorians?
It's hard, it's actually a really hard thing to think. It's because I think he did it was a lot for him to hand it over to Irondir in the first place.
Yeah.
I think that was big for him, but I think maybe he could have been having withdrawals, and finally when he gets it in his hand, if it was the real thing, and he feels all settled again, maybe all those great feelings it gave to him would have come back. So it's really, really difficult, but I definitely think he would have, to be honest. I think if he was strong enough and wise enough to make a good decision to hand it over, I think with enough thinking, he would throw it in. He would throw it to the Marines, yeah.
Well, now he's in a whole different situation, anticipating it being there, and then it's a hatchet, it kind of puts him in a whole different perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Just a few more questions, actually. We're rolling today. So what is your favorite Tolkien book? I like to ask folks, and if you haven't read them, that's totally fine. I know you've got a lot of years to catch up on them. So
I tried reading the trilogy. I got the first book, and I think I got like around 4 pages in. I just found it really hard to read, but I've got them. I know I'm going to get into them very soon. But I also read like the majority of The Hobbit, and it's just a lot, because it's like smaller. It's like Tolkien for kids.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think I would say The Hobbit probably. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also one of my absolute favorites. I'll say, like, as fun as like the more complex stories are and everything, like there's something very, very fun and whimsical about the adventures of Bilbo, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So obviously, we kind of established you're introduced through the movies, like myself. Which of the movies is your favorite? Which of the Middle Earth films?
The Fellowship. I love The Fellowship, especially right at the start with the Shire. I love is it the party? Is it Bilbo's? Yeah, and I love Merry and Pippin's, with the dragon and then everything all over them, and then Gandalf with the fireworks, and just like the peacefulness of the Shire. I've been to Hobbiton. Maybe that's
cool.
Probably why I like it so much, but I just love like the vibe. It's such a good vibe, and the music is so good. Howard was amazing. But I love the Fellowship, especially the start. Yeah.
Now, since obviously you're a big fan of the movies, I'll ask a couple questions about those. Do you have a favorite of the battles that happen in the films? I'm kind of springing this on you. I know I didn't have this.
Probably. Does it? Okay, this might sound horrible, but does the part where actually I've only ever seen the extended edition, so I don't know if it's in the actual But you know the part where like the orcs is kind of setting the Shire on fire, or is it the Nazgul? But when the
Oh,
Shire
the
is
vision.
on
Yeah, the
fire,
vision
yeah,
and
the
the
vision, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know if it is if you count it as a battle, but that bit is like when I was like, no, like you know, what I mean? That hit me the most. So I would probably say that, or right at the very start when Isildur cuts off.
The prologue. Yeah. Well, that ties in very nicely to the show that you are in,
Oh,
since
yeah,
that
I mean,
is,
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of where we're headed. So, well, yeah, as far as the I'm not going to spoil anything, but as far as the vision that you see in the Mirror of Galadriel, I'll just
Mm.
say there's a surprise in store. The books do not end the same way as the movies. So that's all I'm going to tell. I'll tease you with that. Eventually, you will get there, and you'll have to let me know what you think when you get to that crazy
Oh, for
ending
sure. Will
at the
do.
end of Return of the King.
I'll excite.
Um, so, last question for you. Where in Middle Earth would you most like to live?
Ooh. Valinor doesn't count, does it?
Usually not. I've had a couple people. It's kind of a cop out answer. I mean, it's
Yeah, right.
paradise
Yeah.
essentially, right? Yeah.
Um, I would say Khazad-dûm,
Nice.
especially in the second age where we see it in the show. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gorgeous. Also, it's so cool, like the entrances and like all the like the secret password stuff. And yeah, I love that. It's so good.
That's yes. So pre-Balrog, you would like to be in Khazad-dûm.
Yeah,
Pre
sure.
Balrog. Yes, that's a good choice. Is there a place that you would like to visit in Middle Earth but not live there?
Uh Linden or Rivendell. Beautiful.
Nice.
You know, just spend a day there or maybe a few days, like a little
Little vacation.
yeah, you know. Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, Tyro, thanks so much for taking the time out and joining us today. And we're eagerly awaiting the last 2 episodes. I imagine you are pumped for people to see the last 2 episodes
Oh
coming
yeah.
up.
Yeah. There's some cool stuff.
Very cool. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Thursday night at 11:30 Eastern, we will do our watch party as the episode drops as usual. So be sure to tune into that. And once again, Tyro, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having
And
me.
and we will see you all next time on Nerd of the Rings.